Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're out here to do another gauntlet test. Over the years we've had many requests to do a revolver. There's been a number of reasons why we've not done a revolver in the gauntlet tests, mostly because the revolvers that I have in my collection are antiques or collectibles. They're from World War I or World War II or have some sort of military history to them. I'm not a real big revolver guy, so I don't have a whole lot of modern revolvers laying around that I'm really all that anxious to potentially blow up. And so that gets us into why I didn't do revolvers in the first place. Unlike an automatic handgun, where really the only way for sand, dirt, and mud to get into it is through the muzzle, which it's not going to come very far down the barrel just by laying it in those various different types of elements, or through the ejection port, but we load the guns before we put them into the elements. So the barrels, the slides forward, around in the barrel, and the only place stuff can get in is through the muzzle end. And again, not a whole lot can get in that way. Well, with the revolver, you have the front of the cylinder, which is wide open to these elements. So when you put a round in here, when I put this in the mud is going to get right in on top of the round. And so when that round fires, that bullet's going to have to push that mud, sand, dirt, whatever, down the barrel in front of it. And that's something that does not happen with a self-loading pistol. That can cause pressures to spike. Now this is chambered in .357 Magnum. However, this afternoon we will be using some LAX 38 special ammunition because I'm not all that eager to potentially blow the handgun up by using full power .357 Magnum loads. The Model 19 it isn't that strong of a handgun to begin with. It was never designed for a steady diet of full house loads, at least the original versions weren't. So it's designed to be more small and compact. So anyway, we're gonna run this thing through the gauntlet. I'm wearing a flak jacket. It's more or less for humor. I don't really think it's gonna blow up and kill me, but there is the potential to damage the gun. We want to thank our friends over at Big Daddy Unlimited because they're making this possible. This isn't my gun. Big Daddy Unlimited sent us this handgun to run the gauntlet test through, and if the gun survives the test, meaning it doesn't blow up or damage itself some way critically, then the handgun will be given away. The actual handgun from this video will be given away to one lucky winner. There will be a URL in the video description below that will take you to a site that will break down all the contest rules. Basically, you do not have to pay anything to be entered into the contest. The only thing you're going to have to give up is your name and an email address where they can contact you should you win the handgun. But the rest of the rules are on that website in the video link description below. The serial number of the gun that we're going to be testing this afternoon is DNF 2013. So you can actually see the serial number. So if you're the lucky winner of the handgun, I hope you're a lucky winner, I don't blow it up, you'll know that this is the actual gun from the test. So what do? How do we conduct these gauntlet tests? Well, there's two tests that we usually conduct. One I call the elements test. We'll take the gun, we'll put it in the water, bring it up, fire it, reload it, we'll put it in the sand, fire it, clean it in the water, reload it, put it in the dirt, fire it. You get the idea. Between each of these elements, we clean the gun off in the water before we go to the next element. If the firearm passes that first series of tests, then we go into what we call the gauntlet, where I just take the gun, put it in water, sand, dirt, and mud, and we see how the gun fares. Now, there's been a lot of predictions out there. When I posted on Instagram I was going to do this video, even Mr. Guns and Gear was making comments about this thing turning into a hand grenade. So we really don't know what to expect. Again, using 38 special ammunition, kind of lower that pressure curve just a little bit. And at the end, I'm going to take a good look at the gun. We'll clean it up. We'll put it in sonic cleaner and we'll clean it up and inspect it very thoroughly before we ship it back to Big Daddy Unlimited, who will then do the giveaway. With all that being said, let's get this party started. Now, my prediction in all this, guys, is reloading the handgun is going to become progressively more difficult as sand and dirt and mud get into the chamber. We'll see. We will load 6 rounds for the purposes of testing. The standard 38 special, flat nose, copper jacketed bullet. They are 158 grain bullets. All right. Why'd I feel so guilty doing this to a Smith & Wesson? It's such a beautiful handgun. Here we go. Let me get my mask tightened down here. All right. There goes the first 6 rounds. We don't need to rinse it off because we just did the water. Load up the next 6. And here we just lay it in the elements on both sides, just as if, simulating as if you had dropped the firearm on the ground. So we're going to drop it on one side in the sand, pick it up and drop it on the other side in the sand, and see if we can fire our 6 rounds. So, just laying it in the sand, I had to wiggle the cylinder to get it to actually start to work. Let's go ahead and rinse the gun off. I'll tell you right now, I don't think it's going to do well in the actual gauntlet test. All right, so we got all the sand off of it. Let's go ahead and load her back up. Put her in the dirt. All right, so I'm having a hard time getting the cylinder to lock in. One thing you want to be sure of is that the cylinder is not out of time and the cartridge fires and hits the frame, because that can seriously damage the gun. All right, let's go ahead and go to the dirt. Let's drop it on one side. Drop it on the other. Everybody talks about how reliable revolvers are, and we're going to find out today. 6 rounds. All right, so twice there I pulled the trigger and nothing happened. The trigger wouldn't fully reset, but I eventually was able to fire all 6 rounds. Here's where I think we're going to get into real trouble. All right, nice and clean. Yeah. All right. There goes the mud. Lay it on one side and just push her on down in there. Okay, here we go. 6 rounds. All right, so notice it fired a few rounds, but the stop pin is not protruding up and catching the revolver and lining it up, so the gun is technically dead. Right, I just got this now. All right, see how the cylinder is just free spinning? Only fired 3 of the 6 cartridges. And the gun is dead. All right, let's rinse it off and see if we can get it working again just by sloshing it around. Mud killed it, just dropping it in mud. It was stumbling around in the sand. Trying to work it loose, it was having some trouble there, wasn't catching. All right. Let's see if just putting it in its water, on dirty water there, gets it back to firing. All right, so that did get it back to firing. What do you guys say? You just want to see how far it would go? Jason's saying, yeah. All right, let's do it. Let's see how far it'll go through the gauntlet. No signs of any overpressure. There's no bulging of the top strap. I'm keeping a pretty close eye on that. Barrel looks good. Cylinder looks good inside the chambers. I don't see any scoring of the chamber or anything. All right, here we go. Water first. We're just going to go straight through, guys. I think the sand's going to kill it. Put it down. This is where we're going to get in trouble, guys. I think this is the end of it right here. Ah! Same thing. Ah, got one off. There we go. Come on, baby. Ah. Come on, you can do it. I'm limping it along, guys. We got all 6 to fire. I have to admit, that's pretty funny. I gotta push my earbud in here a little bit more, deafening myself. So what's happening, you have a little pin right here that's supposed to stick up and lock the cylinder in place so the round is lined up with the barrel, and that's not happening. Also, the pawl that rotates the cylinder is running into problems, probably because there's sand in the action now. But what I'm finding, surprisingly, is even though my hands are still covered in sand and so are the bullets that our cartridges I'm putting into the cylinder, I'm still able to load it. I really thought that was going to be one of the bigger problems. I'm easily able to get 6 rounds in there. See how I can just keep turning it? We can't fire it like that. That stop pin is not coming up and engaging the cylinder. See if we can force it. Well, let's see what happens. All I can do is blow the gun up, right? All right, guys. Whoa! I just about called it. Trigger's not resetting. You can see the trigger's not resetting right there. I'm going to push it forward. Push trigger forward. Pushing the trigger forward. I think that's it. That's all 6, guys. Holy cow, we're having to pamper it a little bit, but she's doing it. Oh my goodness. It's doing far better than I expected. It truly is. This is pretty funny. Looking for signs of shaved bullets, and it looks like I might be seeing a little bit of it right there where the cylinder is not perfectly aligned with the forcing cone, with the chamber I should say. All right, here's the last one, mud. Come on. All right, let's see what we do. Here we go. Jason's getting way back. I don't blame him. All right, baby, can you do it? Six rounds. It did it. It wasn't easy. Maybe I won't call the test. I'm gonna let you guys be the judge. Let's clean this thing up and let this soak in. I will say this is a big victory for this little handgun. All right, guys, let's take a look inside the barrel of the Model 19. I'd say that barrel looks pretty darn good. I don't see any signs of anything other than it's copper. That's the forcing cone right there. And that's outside, so here's a forcing cone. Forcing cone looks good. Copper buildup, which is expected. That barrel looks just fine. Yep. She'll continue to be a good shooter. Nothing wrong with that barrel at all. So after taking a look at the handgun, after we cleaned it up with the garden hose, we hit with the garden hose, cleaned it all up, made sure we got it working again. We haven't fired it yet. We'll do that here in a moment. But taking a look at it and some of the spent cases. So you remember when I was telling you how the cylinder was just freely turning? It was just turning, and I was pulling the trigger, and the hammer was just randomly falling. Well, you can see on many of the spent cases in some of the live rounds that did not go off, where the firing pin was hitting the rim of the case or hitting the rim of the primer, it wasn't hitting dead center. And that's what's called being out of time. That's when the chamber is not perfectly aligned with the bore, it's a little bit out of sync, and if it goes off, you'll get metal shavings come out the side of the revolver. Jason was standing behind me, and he said he got peppered by some of those shavings because the gun was so far out of time. However, technically, I'm gonna have to go with Jason's judgment and go with his opinion that the gun failed the test. Technically, it did. But beyond that, it did far better than I expected it to. I didn't really expect it to blow up. Again, the flak jacket's more or less just for, comedic value and me screwing around. I'm not protecting my hands. If I was truly worried about the gun blowing up, I'd have welder's gloves on. But I didn't think the gun would get as far as it would. I was interested to see that I could still get cartridges into the chamber, even with dirt and sand on my gloves and those transferring those particles to the cartridges. I thought I would have a hard time loading the gun. And I was surprised that, just fidgeting with it and continuing to work with it, I could get the gun to fire. But if you were in a gunfight for your life, the last thing you would want to be doing is what I was doing to get this gun to fire. So it's a fail, but it did, again, far better than I expected it to. All right, let's fire off 6 more rounds. We haven't oiled it. All we did is spray it with the garden hose. Let's just make sure she's back to working order here. Trigger's hanging up a little bit. primers are all hit in the center, so the timing's back, but the trigger's hanging up a little bit. That means there's some debris inside here. And we'll try to clear that out for the lucky winner of this handgun. It does look like, take a look down the bore here, the gun's empty. The barrel's in good shape. I don't see any signs of heavy scoring or any rings or anything like that in the barrel. Barrel looks like it's almost brand new. So once the gun cleans up, it should make somebody a very happy shooter. We want to thank our friends over at Big Daddy Unlimited for making this video possible by sending this handgun out so we could do this test. I hope you guys found this video to be informative and fun. Again, these are not scientific tests. They're meant to be more entertainment than anything else, but we still think that there's interesting data points, valuable data points that can be gleaned from these tests, but we leave that information up to you and how you decide to use it. Guys, if you'd like to support us here at the Military Arms Channel, please consider becoming a Patreon supporter. There's a link in the video description below. Click that link and become part of our Patreon family. Also, right here on YouTube, you can join the YouTube channel. There's a little join button underneath the video player you're watching right now. Click that little join button and you can support us right here on YouTube. And last but not least, guys, please swing by and check out coppercustom.com. I'm gonna load it up one more time. What a fun little gun to shoot. Let's see if it worked out the kinks with the trigger not resetting. Oh no! She needs a good cleaning, that's all guys. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you guys soon.